Please now to recognize Attorney, our former subcommittee chair, Linda Sanchez of California.
Thank you. Is this on? Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to start by making a comment first on some of the testimony before I move on to the questions that I had. And I want to start with something that Mr. Goodell said. You were quick to mention some improvements that the league has made in the last 2 years to try to minimize some of the red tape and some of the hurdles for NFL retirees who are applying for disability benefits. And I just wanted to point out to the skeptics on this dais that the changes that the league made were very much in keeping with some of the suggestions that came out of the subcommittee's hearing on this very issue in June of 2007, which is about 2 years ago. So for those of you that think that Congress is ineffective, I think the congressional scrutiny might have had a little something to do with some of those positive changes. Now, before I get to my questioning, I want to first show a brief clip that is courtesy of HBO's Real Sports.
Ira Kassan leads a team of NFL doctors who did a study of several hundred active players and reported that the concern over head injuries is overblown.
Is there any evidence, as far as you're concerned, that links multiple head injuries among pro football players with depression?
No.
With dementia?
No.
With early onset of Alzheimer's?
No.
Is there any evidence as of today that links multiple head injuries with any long-term problem like that?
In NFL players?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, and Mr. Goodell, you're about to be handed a copy of a pamphlet that I believe is currently distributed to NFL players, and I would ask you to please read the highlighted portion of the pamphlet, and if I may ask unanimous consent to also enter it into the record, Mr. Chairman.
Certainly, without objection, it will be.
Mr. Goodell?
Yes, I read it. Yes.
Yes, please. Where it starts, if I have had more than one concussion.
Yes.
Can you read that out loud, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. Current research with professional athletes not...
Pardon me, can you back up and read the question and then the answer that's in the pamphlet?
If I have had more than one concussion, am I at increased risk for another injury? Answer. Current research with professional athletes has not shown that having more than one or two concussions leads to permanent problems if each injury is managed properly. It is important to understand that there is no magic number for how many concussions is too many.
Okay, thank you. Now, the question that I have for you is, I'm a little concerned, and I hear the concern expressed by some of the witness on the panel today, that the NFL sort of has this kind of blanket denial or minimizing of the fact that there may be this, link. And it sort of reminds me of the tobacco companies pre-90s when they kept saying, oh, there's no link between smoking and damage to your health or ill health effects. And they were forced to admit that that was incorrect through a spate of litigation in the 1990s. And my question to you is, wouldn't the league be better off legally, and wouldn't high school and college football players be better off if instead of trying to minimize this issue, the league took the opposite perspective and said, look, even if there is a risk, however minuscule, that there may be this link, we really need to jump on top of it and make kids and parents aware of this, so that there isn't this sort of sense that the NFL is really just slow walking the issue to death by saying, well, we've been studying the issue for 15 years, we're going to maybe study it another 15 more years, when there's already non-NFL paid for research that suggests that there's this very high correlation with cognitive impairment. Don't you think the league, would be better off legally, and that our youth might be a little bit better off in terms of knowledge if you guys just embrace that there is research that suggests this and admitted to it?
Well, Congresswoman, I do believe that we have embraced the research, the medical study of this issue. As you point out,
you're talking about one study, and that's the NFL study. You're not talking about the independent studies that have been conducted by other researchers. Am I correct in stating that?
I'm not sure of your question.
There are other studies, research in dementia and CTE, that show that there's a link, but again, the league seems to downplay that and say, well, we're conducting our own study, and, when we have that study completed, then we'll know.
No, I think what we're doing is because we have, to a large extent, driven this issue by making sure that we have medical professionals studying this issue. I am not a medical professional.
I understand that, and I understand that Dr. Ira Casson is, who unfortunately is not here to testify today because there are a number of really great questions I would have loved to ask him, and I would think as the person who is spearheading the research and the one who is individually examining the players who will participate in the study, I think it would have been really important for him to be here today, and I hope that in the future, maybe you didn't get asked to have him here today, but I think in the future it'd be really appreciated by the Congress if you could ask him to come so that we could put specific medical questions to him, because without him here, I'm not going to get medical answers out of you, and that's very clear to me. But I just want to briefly go through one of the big issues with respect to the research that's currently underway by the NFL. There are other professionals who have looked at the methodology, and some of the concerns have been already raised, but I just want to kind of go through them again. One of the criticisms of the study is that the statistical comparison is going to be between professional football players and people who played football in college. That's sort of like comparing 2-pack-a-day smokers with 1-pack-a-day smokers to see what the differences are, instead of 2-pack-a-day smokers with the general population to see whether there's an increased risk of the activity that they're participating in to their health. So that's been an issue that I think merits your going back and talking to the doctors who are conducting this study about trying to tweak in the study. The second thing that really troubles me is that the subjects are sort of self-selected. You send out phone calls and letters and ask for people to participate. Well, homeless people don't typically have addresses where you can send letters. And people with cognitive impairment, and some of the effects of which are slurred speech, trouble focusing, memory loss, physical incapacity, they're going to be unlikely to really respond to a phone call or to a letter. Or to physically, many of the worst cases, be able to travel to New York to be examined by Dr. Casson. So I think you guys need to go back and think how you're selecting the participants in this so-called unbiased study. And third, and this is probably the most troubling, as was exhibited by the clip, it appears that Dr. Casson, who is the only one, again, who's going to be examining these former players, has already made up a determination of what the conclusion of the study is going to be. So my question is, why are you even going through, the charade of presenting the final analysis of going through the study if the determination, in my opinion, has already been made by Dr. Casson and, is denied in the pamphlet that they hand out to NFL players?
Well, first, let me say I do not, and I think you stated that he is the only one examining these patients and the findings. That is not correct.
He's not controlling the examinations or the findings.
I would not say he's controlling that at all, no.
He's participating in it, though.
I do not know if he's participating in the examinations. I can find that out. But
and he's been a consultant to the NFL, is that correct?
He's been on our MTBI committee for several years.
And some of the people who are participating in this study have other conflicts of interest. One of the committee members on the concussion committee owns the company that makes and markets, mainly through its use by most of the NFL teams, the neuropsychological test that's used in the study. Isn't that true?
I don't know the answer to that question, but I'll find out for you.
Okay. I'm just concerned because there are several people that are part of this study that are NFL related, either being paid by the NFL as consultants or actual employees of the payroll.
Well, Congresswoman, I go back to something that I stated early on in my opening remarks, but we had a medical conference in 2007, and you are correct to your point. The last hearing we had here was very helpful, and I will submit for the record about 20 changes that we made that are significant to our player benefits, and I will submit that. And so we do acknowledge that, and we appreciate that. But I have also been commissioner for 3 years. So I want to make sure that that's clear. You're also raising a very important point. I don't control the doctor's output. The doctors that we have involved with this, I do not judge whether they have a particular view going in and going out. This is a collective group that are tremendous professionals that have studied this and other issues on a scientific basis. And this is part of medical debate. And I think it's clear today there is a significant medical debate about the impact, what the impact is, and at what point. As I say, we are trying to move past the medical debate on one level, which is control what we can control and try to bring solutions.
My suggestion would be, and my time has expired, but my suggestion would be that instead of having NFL-connected consultants and doctors, that perhaps the true findings of a truly unbiased study would be better conducted by people who have not been on the payroll or not been retained by the NFL in any capacity. And with that, I will thank the chairman for his patience. I will yield back.